The fallout of the fight that took place between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois Saturday, September 21st at Wembley before one of their record-breaking audiences appears to have many befuddled because going in, the consensus was Joshua was well on his way to a third heavyweight title. But it was not to be, as Daniel Dubois secured his position as the IBF heavyweight titleist. Let's talk about this a little further and why the dismay and disappointment may be apparent. One thing I've noticed about the sport of boxing is that we're presently in an era where people just look at the surface of things very superficially. And it's very discouraging because as I've seen things play out, I'm seeing familiar themes that have brought us to a point of recognition where if you've paid attention to the sport, you can see history repeat itself, but you could also begin to separate when the levels that exist in boxing present themselves. Now, Anthony Joshua has been on a tremendous run fighting out of the UK. However, there's something that should be said about how he arrived at where he is presently. And when he took on Daniel Dubois Saturday night, September 21st, there was an element in the fight that many people had forgotten about. If you're from the UK, you knew these things, but it still played out in a manner which you just kind of didn't care. You dismissed it. And that was the fact that trainer Don Charles and his involvement with Daniel Dubois. See, apparently, Mr. Charles has been around in the UK as a trainer for a long time, even going back to the early portion of Anthony Joshua's career and working with Derek Chisora. Now, Chisora and Joshua are good friends, but Mr. Charles, who was brought to light by working with Chisora, also had an early inside track dealing with Anthony. And as the relationship separated, he became a forgotten man as far as Anthony Joshua is concerned, because Joshua moved onward, upward, and faced different challenges with new people around him. But Daniel Dubois came into the picture, and that was back when Mr. Charles was around. And according to their sparring history, Daniel, even though in his late teens, facing off against a pro in Joshua, more than held his own. People are dismissive of that type of situation, but what you do look at as talent and where someone may be measured as to how they can get off the ground running. And Dubois definitely got off the ground running fast and hard. Joshua, as he's gone on in his career, has seen things be angled for him. Promoter Eddie Hearn and Matchroom has done all they can to secure Joshua's place. Yes, he will go down in their history as one of their great champions from the UK, well accomplished, with a gold medal on his resume, as well as now being a two-time heavyweight champion. But going for that third time, one thing that people are not thinking about is the quality of opposition. You see, at some point you need to grow and you need to develop better to go higher. And that's what the consensus going into this fight fooled people, because it was thought that Ben Davison, who's had experience working with some other noted fighters out of the UK, including Tyson Fury, he had received accolades and also consideration that maybe was just a bit fast. Because when fighters have limitations that are blaring, it is up to that coach, mentor, trainer to assist in not necessarily masking those deficiencies, but enhancing means of compensating or overcoming them. I've always noted that Anthony Joshua had challenges ahead of him, and this was way before he became heavyweight champion against Prince Charles Martin. But I had always acknowledged that there was something there that I was concerned with. And sometimes, like I said, in this present era, people take critique as hate, or, you just not supporting a guy. I've always spoke the truth about fighters. One of the early telltale signs was when there was an opportunity for Joshua to face Deontay Wilder. Now, we know that he won that heavyweight title against Prince Charles Martin, but Prince Charles Martin fought for a vacant belt against an opponent that he didn't knock out, that he just happened to be a tad better than, and the Hearn camp jumped on the opportunity to throw a great deal of money at Martin for an opportunity at that belt. That can't be overlooked. But I'm not going to get too far off the track of the subject of why we're here. The Don Charles factor. When Joshua got into the ring on the September 21st, across the ring he saw an old coach and trainer who knows him. This is very important, people. When you know that the other side knows you, your flaws, what you just don't like to do. There may be things that you just couldn't get right. Times you just didn't want to get your ass out of the bed. Time you just didn't want to apply yourself. He knows. And he wasn't always there to pat you on the back and tell you, good job, son. Maybe he was kicking you in your pants and telling you, you need to tighten it up. You see, that makes a difference. And in this present day era, we're seeing people who are taking more to being celebrated and uplifted instead of critiqued, not criticized, critiqued, meaning that I give you information that has been observed in areas where you may need improvement. And unless you acknowledge this, you may not get beyond the point where you find yourself presently. In order to graduate to a level of accomplishment, you have to know that there are tools that you bring along the way with you to handle the task at hand. And that's Mr. Charles. You see, I listened to some of the things that he expressed in the aftermath of the fight. And he talked about going in. Once they looked across the ring at Joshua, Joshua was not prepared for what they saw. And what they saw was one man who knew that this was going to make a difference in his life and career, and the other who just kind of expected things to happen for him, even if he labored not hard. The real world doesn't work that way. Life moves at 100 miles an hour, and you have to know your lane for your speed that you go. When the bell rang for the first round, Daniel Dubois was on top of Joshua. Joshua took steps back. He took jabs to the face right away. He looked like he was going 30 while Dubois was going 95. And I didn't say 100 because as the round went on, Dubois worked himself up to 100 and AJ whittled down 15. It's that simple. And when a trainer like Don Charles knows these things, and a former charge like AJ of Charles knows these things, the window for opportunity for success closes quite quickly. And this is what was observed when I saw this fight. Amazingly, Mr. Charles is a well-spoken man, a God-fearing man, and a respecting man that even when he can throw someone under, he doesn't do that. And that's an admirable quality because nowadays people look and seek to do bad against you at every chance that they get. But he spoke very shortly about what the limitations in AJ was that he observed. And those are qualities that need to be ironed out. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. Do you remember how AJ responded when he lost to Ruiz? He was like, I wish it were Wilder. What? You had a chance to fight Wilder, but you went away from it. When he lost to Alexander Usyk, he put on a fit and he asked him, how did you beat me? When he lost the second time to Usyk, it was about throwing the belts out of the ring and breaking down at the post-fight press conference. Was it not? Okay, look at these circumstances and try to evaluate where the man needs development. It's the character development department, not the physical tools, not the athleticism, but what's going on psychologically and mentally and what's inside. And I don't believe that Mr. Ben Davison understands that aspect as deeply as he should. Because as long as there's challenges, if you are not equipped to deal with pressure of challenge, you could fall to pieces, which is exactly what we saw with Joshua in this fight. The mere fact that Hearn would tell the press in the post-fight that AJ will be here to make a statement, but he's not taking questions. You're still coddling. You're still covering up for a 35-year-old man who needs to be accountable, who needs to be able to face down the challenges of, I came up short. Not just tell me you did, but take questions on it. Queries about, can you give us something to understand about you that you want to be better, that you are going to cultivate? Or is this just what we're going to receive from you? You see, because only you can answer that question, Anthony Joshua. And the media knows that. And the true boxing followers know that. Though this may be an odd era, there is still a swell of people out here who know better, and they'll tell you better. And that's not just to pat you on the back, but that's to try to help you understand. that you are a man and sometimes you have to man up. That has nothing to do with being in the ring. That has to do everything with being in this life existence. Yeah. But as I say this, there are some who will get it and some who don't care. But you know something? The truth is always there. This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know your thoughts about this editorial and the points that are made and the perception of what truly is and the reality of what John Charles' presence was on that impactful night. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone, please remain safe.